In the name of the most gracious, merciful of Allah, we are going to start our revision with the most important part you have studied in the last period with your teacher, which is related to the narrative structure. There are very important literary forms you have to know before joining the exam. Number one, point of view. It's a type of narrator. It means the person who narrates the story. And when we talk about point of view, we have first person and third person. When it comes to first person, the narrator narrates his own story from his own point of view, using the pronouns I and we. For example, I went or we went. Turning to the third person, the narrator narrates a story that happened to someone else, using the pronouns he, she, they, went, so, things like that. The second narrative element is the setting or the settings, which express the time and place, the time of the story and the place of the story. It means when and where the story took place. Number three, the characters. The characters are the people or animals in the story. The people or animals in the story. Climax. This is the most exciting or highest point of tension and suspension in the story, and we are calling climax as the turning point in the story. It's very, very important part in the story, which attracts the attention of the reader and give him the chance to enjoy reading the story. The morale. What's the morale? The morale is the lesson or group of lessons you learn from the story. It's life lesson or the value you got from the story. For example, if the story was talking about a friendship, so the lesson may be friendship. And we can get different morals or different lessons from different stories, like cooperation, loyalty, friendship, many things like that. When it comes to the exam and he asks you a question about the morale, telling you what's the morale of the story, it's logic or it's clear. You can find the morale of the story by the end of the reading passage. And later on this presentation, we are going to present in which part exactly you will write your morale. But I'm telling you in advance that you can get the morale in the last part or the last paragraph of the story, which is the conclusion of the story. Fine? So this is the morale you can get in the conclusion. What's the theme? The theme also is important in writing stories. And you may be asked a question about the theme. It's very important and common question, especially in reading exams. He may ask you a question like this. The question may come like this. What's the theme of the story? It's the same meaning of what's the text mainly about. What's the text mainly about? Or also it has the same meaning of the question. What's the main idea of the story? And again, it has the same meaning of what's the purpose of the story. All these questions can give you the same meaning. So what's the theme? The theme is the topic that the story discusses or the message that the author wanted to deliver. The topic that the story discusses or the message that the author wanted to deliver. When he asks you a question about the theme, it's clearly, it's clearly known that you can get the theme from the start of the story. From the first paragraph, you have to know the main idea and the purpose of the story. What's conflict? You know, the conflict is the struggle between the characters or the troubles found in the story. Resolution, it means how your story ended. How your story ended. And it's clear that the resolution must be in the last paragraph of your story. This is a very important and clear diagram which shows the narrative elements and how to input each narrative element between the three parts of the story. You know, when you write the story, when you read the story or write it, you have to find three parts, or your story must be divided into three parts. The first one is the introduction, and the second one is the body, or the body of the story, the actions that happen in the story, and the last part is the conclusion. Now in this diagram we are going to show what are the elements, what are the items or the narrative items or elements must be applied in each part. Firstly, in the introduction, I have to write the setting and the character. In the setting, I have to write the time and place. And for characters, the characters may be people or animals. The plot means the body of the story, the events or the actions that happened in the story. In the plot, I have different items must be found in the plot. The conflict, the rising action, the climax, and the falling action, which is the action before the resolution. So in the body, I have to write the plot, and in the plot, I have to write the conflict, the rising action, the climax, and the falling action. And when we try to find or define the word plot, we can say that the plot is group of actions that make up the story. This group of actions will be divided between or into conflict. Some of them will be the conflict, and some others will be the rising actions, and some others will be climax, and some others will be falling actions. In the conclusion, in the last paragraph of your story, you have to write two things: the resolution and the morale. As we said, the resolution means how your story ended, and the morale, the life lesson or the value you got from the story. And also you have to write your feeling, the feeling while telling this story. Did you feel happy, sad, furious, ecstatic? Many feelings and emotional cases can be written in the conclusion to express the feeling.